Viewer discretion is advised.
We're always told not to get attached to a case.
Conference investigators said they had several suspects over the years.
Her body was discovered in a stripping hall that they used for refuse.
His body was exhumed from the cemetery where he was buried.
They say time heals all wounds, but in the small coal mining town of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, time didn't heal anything. It just buried the truth under 58 years of dust, silence, and coal soot. For nearly 6 decades, a monster walked among them. He sat in their diners, he walked their streets, and while the world moved on, while men landed on the moon and the internet was born, the ghost of a 9-year-old girl named Marise Chiverella haunted the Pennsylvania State Police files. Today, we're looking at a case that wasn't just cold, it was frozen solid, until a 20-year-old college student with a laptop and a specialized DNA kit decided to do what the world's best detectives couldn't. This is the story of Marise Chiverella and the secret that was never supposed to be told.
This is Marise's story.
It took nearly 6 decades to get justice for Marise.
This was a violent and a heinous crime that was committed against a small child.
Her body was found in a strip mine pit in Hazel Township.
State police say it's the oldest cold case in Pennsylvania to be solved through DNA and one of the oldest in the entire country.
She was about 9 or 10 years old when a man tried to kidnap her blocks away from where Marise was kidnapped a few years earlier.
March 18, 1964. It was a Wednesday. 9-year-old Marise, bright-eyed, wearing a red coat, stepped out of her home. In her hands, she carried a simple can of vegetables for her school's charity drive. It was a 5-minute walk, a walk she had done 100 times. But Marise never made it to class. By mid-afternoon, the town's collective heart stopped. A waste coal pit, a jagged scar in the earth on the edge of town, became a crime scene. A passerby thought they saw a doll discarded in the dirt, but as they got closer, the horrific reality set in. It wasn't a toy. It was Marise. She had been brutalized in a way that didn't just break her body, it broke the soul of the town. In 1964, Hazleton was the kind of place where you left your front door unlocked. After March 18th, those locks stayed turned for the next 60 years. The manhunt was massive. Over 230 investigators, 4,700 pages of notes. They looked at everyone, the neighbors, the drifters, the coal miners. But in 1964, forensics was a dream of the future.
My father said, go back to school and find her.
She was down an embankment, and her hands were bound, her feet were bound. She appeared to have ligature marks around her neck.
Marise was bringing canned goods in celebration of the sisters' feast day.
She had a scarf stuffed into her mouth, which they called a babushka at the time. At the time in 1964, DNA evidence didn't exist.
The trail didn't just go cold, it vanished. Decades passed. Marise's parents eventually passed away, never knowing who took their daughter. It seemed like the killer had won. He had committed the perfect crime simply by outlasting the technology of his time. But here's the thing about the future. It eventually arrives. Enter the 2010s.
We call it the iPad.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
The people have won the right to write their own history.
Donald J. Trump has become the 3rd U.S. president ever to be impeached.
Nicolas Maduro has been declared the winner of a contested presidential election.
Malaysia Airlines confirms it has lost contact with a plane carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members.
While the case sat in a basement gathering dust, a revolution was happening in science, genetic genealogy. But the police didn't solve this alone. They had an unlikely ally. Imagine a 20-year-old history student named Eric Schubert. He wasn't a hardened detective. He was a kid with a talent for tracing family trees. He reached out to the state police and said, "Give me a shot." This is where it gets crazy. The DNA from Marise's jacket had been preserved miraculously for over half a century. Eric didn't look for the killer, he looked for the killer's cousins. He spent 2 years navigating a labyrinth of Italian records, birth certificates, and census data. He was building a web, narrowing it down branch by branch until the web tightened around one single family tree. And at the end of that branch was a name that had never appeared in the 4,700 pages of police files: James Paul Forte. But there was a problem. James Paul Forte was dead. He had died in 1980, age 38, from a sudden heart attack. He had escaped justice for 16 years after the murder, taking his secret to the grave. The police had a name, but they needed a match. In a move straight out of a Hollywood thriller, in January 2022, investigators did the unthinkable. They went to a local cemetery. They exhumed Forte's body. Imagine the scene: the cold Pennsylvania winter, the sound of shovels hitting the frozen earth, all to see if a man buried 40 years was the monster they'd been hunting since 1964. The lab results came back. The probability, 1 in 300 septillion. That's a 3 followed by 26 zeros. It was him. James Paul Forte was a bartender with a prior record for violent assault, yet he somehow slipped through the cracks for 58 years. He lived a life, he breathed air that Marise never got to breathe, and he died thinking he'd gotten away with it. He was wrong. This case changed everything. It proved that in the modern age, there is no such thing as a cold case. There is only a case waiting for the right technology to catch up. Marise Chiverella's story started with a can of vegetables and a red coat in 1964. It ended in a high-tech lab in 2022. Justice might be slow, but as this case proves, it is patient, and it is coming for the shadows. What do you think? Does the fact that the killer died before being caught feel like justice, or does it leave a hollow ending? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more stories where science cracks the unsolvable, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.